The Mount Olive Township Council Conference Meeting of March 25th, 2014. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, remain standing for a moment of reflection for our troops who keep us free. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please. Okay, go ahead.
According to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been given to the Daily Record. Notice has been posted in the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, and notices were sent to those requesting the same.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Almeida?
Here.
Mr. Frente?
Here.
Mrs. Labow?
Here.
Mr. Perkins?
Here.
Mr. Roman?
Here.
Mr. Nicastro?
Here.
Mr. Mania?
Here. We have 9 resolutions. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Any old business? New business? Mr. Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to briefly ask if possibly we couldn't have the administration send a letter to the DOT. The My Sweet Cleaners, as I think most people are aware, had another car go into the front of the store. I guess this is 2 in less than an 18-month period. Might it not make some sense to have the DOT look at a traffic study in that area for the possibility of putting guardrails in front of the corner deli as well as the My Sweet
The
Cleaners? That curve is notoriously dangerous at 40 miles an hour, let alone what this person must have been doing.
Either that or put a auto body collision store in next door.
Mako, you know. So if that's something we could ask, Sean, if you could just do that.
Absolutely.
Good point. Mrs. Labow?
Is it I Love My Cleaners, or did they change the
My
name?
Sweet Cleaners, I love it's my
Whatever.
somebody's.
Whatever. It's
My-
the cleaners.
It's our cleaners, I know that.
Mine too. It's my heart
My
cleaners.
cleaners, I use it too. That's my heart.
There you go.
There you go.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Anyone else? Anyone from the public? There's nobody here from the public. Okay, we'll adjourn to our public meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Roll call, please.
I'm going to do Open Public Meetings Act again.
Go ahead.
According to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been given to the Daily Record. Notice has been posted in the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, and notices were sent to those requesting the same. Mr. Almeida?
Here.
Mr. Frente?
Here.
Mrs. Labow?
Here.
Mr. Perkins?
Here.
Mr. Roman?
Here.
Mr. Nicastro?
Here.
Mr. Mania?
Here. Daniel, will you do the honor of approving the minutes of the previous meetings, please?
Yes, I make a motion to approve minutes of previous meetings.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Almeida?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Mrs. Labow?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Nicastro?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
So abstain from March 1st, yes on March 11th. Okay, we have a bunch of correspondence. We have 25 pieces of correspondence. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. We're on to our ordinances. First ordinance would be 7. I open the hearing to the public on ordinance 7-2014 entitled, An Ordinance of the Township of Mount Olive amending ordinance 31-2013, which establishes salaries for the mayor, council, department heads, supervisory personnel, and employees of the township clerk's office. Mr. Ferranti, would you do us the honor?
Sure, I move for adoption and final passage of ordinance number 7-2014.
Second.
Close the hearing to the public. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Perkins, second. Council discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Almeida?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
No.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes. I declare ordinance number 7-2014 is passed on second reading, and I hereby direct the clerk to forward a copy of the same to the mayor and publish the notice of adoption as required by law. Next ordinance is, I open the hearing to the public on ordinance number 8-2014 entitled Township of Mount Olive, Morris County, New Jersey, calendar year 2014, ordinance to exceed the municipal budget cost of living allowance and to establish a cap bank. Anyone from the public wish to be heard? I close it to the public. Mrs. Laybow, would you kindly do the honors?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Okay.
Number 3.
Yeah, huh? Yeah. I move for adoption and final passage, ordinance number 8-2014.
Second.
Council discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Almeida?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes. Ordinance number 8-2014 is passed on second reading, and I hereby direct the clerk to forward a copy of the same to the mayor and publish the notice of adoption as required by law. Next, I open the hearing to the public on ordinance number 9-2014 entitled Bond Ordinance Amending Sections 3A, 1, 311, and 6B of Bond Ordinance number 5-2013 of the Township of Mount Olive in the County of Morris, New Jersey, finally adopted March 19, 2013, as amended September 6, 2013, respectively, in order to increase the appropriation and authorization amounts for the projects described in Section 3A1, to delete Section 311, and to amend Section 6B. Mr. Perkins, would you do us the honor? I'm sorry. Open it to the public. Anyone from the public? Seeing none, close it to the public. Mr. Perkins?
Yes, Mr. President, I move for adoption and final passage of ordinance number 9-2014.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call. Mrs. Laybow?
I just have a question for Sean, Mr. Canning. How is the three-phase power all installed now at Turkey Brook Park?
Yeah, three-phase power is part of last year's capital project. The only thing that remains to be done is when, we put the lights in, this is the short run from the transformer pads that are on site, but if the entire park is all three-phase powered right now.
Oh, that's great, thank you.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Almeida?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes. Ordinance number 9-2014 is passed on second reading, and I hereby direct the clerk to forward a copy of the same to the mayor and publish the notice of adoption as required by law. Okay, next on the agenda is consent resolutions. We have 9 of them. Is there anyone that wishes to move any to non-consent? Anyone from the public? Council comments, consent resolutions? Mrs. Laybow?
I just have one question on, it's sanitation related, so I'm going to ask it now instead of old business, Mr. Kenny. I had 2 residents so far have asked me with the one-armed bandit when it comes to their house, and because the way some streets are situated, they can't like go down and come back and go the other way, so they have to use the back loader. And they were trying to figure out why there was always garbage left in their can. And it turns out that they were watching, and the guy just pulls the bags out and doesn't actually lift it up and dump it.
Okay.
So I don't know, that
Defeating
kind
the
of,
purpose.
yeah, exactly.
If you can, off the record, send me the street name, I'll find out
Okay.
who the driver is and we'll address it internally.
And then the other question, I know we discussed it before, when the one-armed bandit dumps the garbage, sometimes the bag still really doesn't come out. What was the reason for that?
That'll be sometimes it's just driver training.
Just-
The claw or the grasper actually creates a pinching in the middle sometimes if they do it too much. Keeps the bag in the bottom from coming out of the top. That's just a matter of just getting better at it and who the driver is.
And then-
Again, I'd be interested to find out what the street is because we can track who the driver is. We only have 4
Right.
drivers in these trucks, so if it's a training need, we could certainly address it. And again, we track our complaints.
And the concern why it was brought to my attention is that for the winter time, it's not really a big deal, but you don't want a bag left over for the week because it's going to get hot and smell and blah, 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 so,
Yeah, if you
okay.
can let me know the
I will.
street addresses, I'll address it internally.
Okay, great. I know it's sort of on topic, but not quite, but good time to ask the question. Thank you.
Mayor?
I just want to bring it to everyone's attention, resolution number 9, dealing with the developers agreement for Flanders Road Partners, just so that we're all on the same page as this goes forward. That relates to the bubble, which is being put up on the on the Flanders Athletic Club property, not the tennis and swim club property. Ultimately, they're looking to move forward with the project. The developer's agreement was not done at this point. You're authorizing me to sign the developer's agreement once we get the check off from Gene and Chuck that we're all on the same page and it's prepared to move forward. I don't think that anybody really pays real close attention on council in terms of, not to be criticism, but generally our attorney handles it and our professionals sign off on it and it's been approved by the planning board. So that's where we're going with that. They're looking to actually move forward with this as quickly as possible. Want to start with the project before we can meet again, so you're actually authorizing me to sign off on it once Chuck and Gene indicate, and the attorney indicate that we're ready to go.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, John had a question.
Mr. Nacastro?
No, John.
I'm sorry.
Where on the property is the bubble going?
It's somewhere in the neighborhood of where the tennis courts are. It's close to the Vaccaro Road side, and the objectors to the project were primarily on Vaccaro Road or that section of whatever it is, Flanders Neck.
Right.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
I never
Mr. Roman has
approved the resolution, so I move for approval of resolutions 1 through 9.
Second?
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Amianda?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes. Okay, next we have consent motions. Mr. Nacastro?
Yes, I move consent motion approval for taxi permit for Sohal Anjuman and appointment of Alex Roman to the Musconetcon River Management Council and the bill list.
Second.
Zero, second. Mr. Perkins, second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted to be on the River Management Council because I heard you get to fish there for free.
Colleen?
I just have a question about the taxi license. Mrs. Lashman, how many taxis licenses do we have operating in Mount Olive right now?
Right now, just one.
Oh, just one.
Bud Lake car. That's this one here. Bud Lake Taxi.
Oh, I thought we had two. We just only one? Only one?
There
Ever?
have been others in the past. Right now, we currently have one.
And I know we can't really promote like one business over another, but is there it'd be nice for residents to know there is a taxi available. I don't know how we can really kind of get that word out without really, not like a favoritism kind of a thing, but sometimes kids get stranded at school, parents aren't home yet, they need a taxi to call. I don't know how we kind of get the word out that there is a taxi. I've had people say, oh, we have a taxi company in town?
I can tell him to go leave carts up at the school, at the high school. if you want.
Colleen, it's a good business for you to start. Give them some competition.
You can
Yeah,
advertise.
there you go. Well,
Google.
I'm very busy selling real estate right now.
Mayor?
So,
The reasons that Colleen identified are the very reasons that we're looking to put in a mini transit system into Mount Olive, so that all of those issues can be addressed on a regular scheduled bus pickup.
yeah. And people were really looking forward to that, because I do tell them we're working on it, and
Hopefully it will come to fruition. Mr. Canning presented to the Community Block Grant Committee, and if we're successful, it'll be the start of our program. If not, we'll look at funding it some way in next year's budget.
okay.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Amianda?
Yes.
Mr. Frente?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes. Administrative reports.
I'll start, and then Sean has some as well. This Wednesday night, March 26th, is the Sports Summit, first annual Sports Summit that our Sports Ombudsman, former Mayor Paul LaCitra, has organized. It's at the Corner Pub at 7:30, and expect good attendance from our sports organizations to address many of the issues that the sports clubs have, from inter-sports relationships to intra-sports relationships between coaches and their participants. So it might be interesting if any of you have the time to attend. Again, that's 7:30 at the Corner Pub. Russ Bonaguro will be performing at the Corner Pub Saturday night. This is a fundraiser for the baseball team and softball team. He's a local musician. I understand he's big in the wedding genre, and it should be a good time. Mount Olive's Travel Softball is hosting a Texas Hold'em tournament at the Bud Lake Firehouse, April 4th. Kiwanis is having an Easter Bunny breakfast at Applebee's Saturday, April 12th, from 8 to 10 a.m. Thursday, April 24th, is the Travel Baseball 8U Pasta Dinner at Cafe Margarita, which is in the same shopping center with Home Goods. If you've never been there, it's a pretty good restaurant. And Saturday, April 26th, which is going to be a wildly popular event. If you haven't signed up already, you should. Great family event, which is the Do or Die Color Run. And I can tell you that the sign up already is larger than we had for the first 5K, which was a very popular event 2 years ago, and that was as of the day of the event. We're already way ahead of our signups for that. Just see if there's anything else here in my pile of stuff. Oh yes, Steve Schiller, April 19th, 2014, is hosting a ride-a-thon at Gold's Gym in Flanders. It's two 90-minute sessions, one from 9:30 to 11 and one from 11:15 to 12:45. And that's to raise money for the Police Unity Tour, which obviously is a very good cause if you're into spinning. I think the cost is, to rent a bike is $20 per rider, per class. And that's all I have. Oh, one other thing. Sorry, this Friday and Saturday, and there was one other day, I know several of us have signed up, breakfast with the mayors through the county freeholders. Joe, you're going Friday, and I know Alex is going on Saturday on behalf of Mount Olive Township. I'm going on Friday as well. An opportunity to meet with the freeholders and to discuss any issues that we may have that the county could address on our behalf. To the extent that any of you are not going but have some ideas in terms of things that the county might be able to address on Mount Olive's behalf, I suggest you contact either me or Joe or Alex so that we can raise the issues with the county freeholders to the extent that you're not prepared, not going. And if you are going to go, I suggest you contact Lisa, who will make the arrangements for your participation in the event.
Thank you, Mayor.
Just a couple things on the administrative side. Mount Playmore, we finally broke ground after this rough winter this past Monday. We meet weekly. It's been a lot of planning, a lot of, as you know, from the ordinances and the resos that have come before you, a lot of planning, a lot of purchasing, just a lot of coordination. So the vendors in there, they've broken ground. We anticipate the concrete pour later this week and through next week, and we anticipate construction starting late April. So it's really going to be something the township's going to be very proud of.
John, is it possible that we can have pictures of the progress along the way, and then that way have it put on the website?
Sure. I believe, I want to confirm, Elisa, if John Geiger has been tasked with that already. If not, I'll make sure that that's...
Yeah, because I think it'll build
Is it being done?
enthusiasm.
Okay. I know that's one of the things we have weekly meetings, and we have another one tomorrow, just progress meetings, and I know that's come up in the past, so apparently it is being taken care of. Capital project bids, again, the budget's just been introduced, and that'll be formal shortly. After that, the capital bids come out. In the meantime, we're trying to get ahead of it like we did last year with our major projects. We're meeting with the fire department, the rescue squads, any major bids we want to have in place by late May. It's just an internal housekeeping thing, but we want to be ahead of the capital projects this year, so that's ongoing. Monthly reports. Has everybody, I guess I have to poll council, the Dropbox, has it been accessible? Has it been user-friendly? Is it not user-friendly?
I can't access it through my iPad.
Okay, it's Excel-based, so it's not going to come through an Apple product.
That's the only issue I have.
Okay, it's, I can look at maybe, I know there's another app on the Apple side, which doesn't quite work. It's not quite Excel, it's Excel Lite. Maybe I'll look into that, but for the most part, it's been trying to get it up there so it's real time for council and get to do a little more analysis. If there's improvements, please let me know. Paperless meetings, both Lisa, Scott, and myself, we've been going back and forth in email. I'd imagine we're going to meet either probably tomorrow, Lisa, or early next week. It doesn't look like it's going to be that heavy of a lift. So hopefully we'll meet once or twice, come up with a general prototype and a plan, and bring it to council and find out what direction council would desire to go on that. And lastly, April 8th for the next meeting, just I guess a heads up, the Park Place project will be coming up. That's slated for discussion that night. So just as a reminder, we had spoken about it last fall and also during the budget hearing. So that'll be at the next meeting. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any old business? New business? Legal matters, Jeff?
Just one item, just to follow up on what the mayor said about the developers agreement with Flanders Park. We'll have that over to Chuck and Jean for their review tomorrow, and we'll go from there. Other than that, Sean's keeping us very busy. Nothing else to report tonight.
Thank you, Jeff. Council reports. Board of Education, Daniel?
No, I don't have a report. I don't have a report.
Environmental Committee, Mr. Ferrante?
Nothing for environmental.
Lake issues?
Nothing for lake right now.
Is it melted?
I haven't checked.
Not
Okay.
yet.
Library
I
board.
wouldn't suggest walking on it. So.
Did you say you want me to walk on it? I didn't hear what
Yes,
you
that's
said.
exactly what I said.
Test it out.
Library board.
Library, the adult wing is reopened. They had the water damage a couple months ago, and they finally have been able to reopen this past week.
Thank you. Senior citizen, Mrs. Labo?
Nothing to report.
Economic Development Committee?
We meet again on April 30th.
TNR?
Nothing to report.
Safety Committee, Mr. Perkins?
Thank you, Mr. President. We held our reorganization meeting. Mr. Willie Cerrone is the chair, who sits on top. Still not sure exactly where it's going to go. We're going to give it a couple meetings. I'll probably have to I'm going to make some minor tweaks to the resolution that we had adopted in 2008, bring it back for council to review, or ultimately in 3 months, if we're not making any real headway, we will abandon the committee. All right, so some good people on it. It may begin to move, but without officers of the respective branches of the EMS and fire, it's not going to work. Because if you don't have somebody there who's in an authoritative position on one of those organizations that's going to be able to vote, then really all we're doing is having lip service. We're talking to each other about things that we would like to see, but they don't have any teeth behind it. They would still have to go back to their officer. So it's still in the infancy stage as it stands now, Mr. President.
MOTV?
MOTV is going well. Reviewed I'm not sure if I said it last meeting, we reviewed a senior Christmas party video, and that should be getting posted. They're updating the council meetings onto the website with the right frequency now. I believe that there's a formal meeting is going to be set up next month for them to get together. Next week they start their first formal meetings, and it moves on to a monthly meeting, hopefully. That, again, we may need to look at the way the council had put together the committee criteria, and that may need to be tweaked a little bit, only to find out who the right membership that needs to be on here. We kind of delved into that rather deeply 2 years ago when Mr. Walsh was still with us. I think we need to review that to find out exactly how we want to continue this committee. And that's it, Mr. President.
Was the Christmas party held at DTA Automotive by chance?
And just a clarification, Mr. Walsh is still with us.
He is.
He's not active.
Just not here.
It's not physically here.
Yes.
Open Space Committee, Mr. Roman.
Nothing new to report as of last meeting, and nothing new on recreation, other than to reiterate that tomorrow we'd have the first sports summit.
Board of Health, Mr.
We
Castro.
had a meeting last week. Nothing, that was good, right? Nothing major. It was a quick meeting, just basic stuff. Nothing on legislative committee.
Okay. Planning Board, we had a meeting last week. Marvel Land Farms got its final approval. Also, as you well know from Jeff's last report, ARD, the judge remanded Planning Board. We will be hearing that on April 10th.
Mr. Mania?
And
Mr.
Yeah.
Mania?
Mr. President.
Do you remember how many units are going to be built at Marvelland Farms? 55
there's
and older?
227 single-family, and I believe 57 COA units.
57, wow. So 227, 50. And the COA units, are they going to be built closer to the Chester borderline off of Pleasant
No.
Hill?
I think that was part of the plan
Yeah.
originally that they were thinking of, but I think ultimately, John, correct me if I'm wrong, they're interspersed within the entire.
Oh,
No, you're right.
I think that's the way that it ultimately came down.
so then the COA, are they going to be 55 and older also?
No,
No? So,
Can't
no,
do
I don't
that.
believe.
yeah, I
we can
know, you
restrict
can't do that, but that's
COA.
why.
Am I right, Jeff? Restrict COA to 55? I don't
No.
believe so.
No, you can't. So then I'm confused how, if it's supposed to be 55 and older development, and the whole idea is 55 and older want to be with 55 and older, how do you have COA weaved in and out?
COA's another ballgame. Right, Mayor?
Yeah,
Absolutely true.
yeah, absolutely. I'm just thinking that one contradicts the other. I mean, the one contradicts the 55 and over.
It doesn't really, because the entirety of the development is going to have a 55 and older feel, and I'm not sure that you can restrict even all of the over 55s
Oh.
and older units to people over. There have to be a certain percentage which are available.
80%, yeah.
Yeah, so overall, the project, it's no different than any other
Okay.
over 55
Okay, great.
and over project.
Just wanted clarification, because I know that question's going to come up.
Well, what's really interesting is that in this era where over 55 and older was built out, and there was a glut on the market, that we have this new project, which obviously is very attractive for a number of different reasons. Number one, its location in Mount Olive Township, Morris County. Number two, its proximity to 36 holes of public golf right across the
Exactly.
street. A country feel, shopping, which is relatively close to supermarkets. and yet it's almost almost like feeling like it's still in the country.
Exactly.
And I believe that there are a number of different parties that are interested in actually purchasing it from the developer, one in particular. There was some question in terms of buildings which are currently on the property and whether the township had an interest in maintaining those buildings or whether or not they were going to knock those buildings down, which had to get resolved. What we did is we got our professionals out on it, Tim Quinn, Frank Wilbur Jr., Gary Lindsay, and made the determination that there are some outbuildings which could be used by the township in terms of storage and the like. So those buildings are going to be maintained, while other buildings were either determined not to be in the interest of Mount Olive to maintain are going to be knocked down by whoever is developing that project ultimately. You're going to see improvements in terms of the intersection where Flanders Bartley Road intersects with Main Street, which has always been kind of a nightmare. If you're not familiar with that intersection, it's kind of hard to figure out who's got the right of way.
Yeah.
You're going to see improvements in terms of off-site drainage because they're going to be putting in a second drainage area that's going to now take away water flow from the Rosewood Ditch, including whatever outlet is currently going into the Rosewood Ditch from Flanders Crossing is now going to be diverted into this new ditch. So it's going to solve a lot of problems, not to mention are rateable to the township without putting any real additional stress on our school system. Win, win, win for the township ultimately. It's going to create a new group of people who are going to be shopping in the stores in Flanders, obviously with the new Weiss Market that's in and the shopping center that's now coming back to life there. That plus the Siemens expansion are really great successes that we should all take pride in terms of what we've accomplished here.
Excellent.
Is there a time frame at all on this at all for building? Do you know any idea? I mean, I know they gotta sell it or.
I think I can answer
or you
that.
might, yeah.
I believe Toll Brothers is interested in the project. They've asked for 30 days to make their decision. And what I'm told is that when they do sign a contract, they immediately want to start work there.
Probably looking at occupancy somewhere in 2015, I would imagine, which is consistent with what's going to happen over at Siemens as well. And we also had the pre-construction meeting with Fratelli Beretta, right? And they're starting immediately, and they said that they expect to actually be in if everything goes according to plan.
Well, actually, the Fowlers has put an excavator on the site already.
Yes.
But I understand from Sean tonight that they've hit some rock there.
What a surprise.
So there's some, there's gonna be some discussion with Fowlers and Fratelli Beretta.
Right, but they were actually thinking that they could be in by late 2014 is what they discussed at the pre-construction meeting.
They're anxious to get going.
So you have a lot of things happening in Mount Olive right now. You have Siemens, which is completing. You have Marvel Land Farms. You have the sports complex where the Flanders Valley Swim Club is. You have Fratelli Beretta coming in. You possibly have something happening at Simwoff. And one thing that I didn't mention during the administrative report, Thursday we're having a meeting up at BASF. Wells Fargo has brought in a company to basically come up with some additional concepts in terms of how to use that building. And they're meeting with any number of different professionals, elected officials, appointed volunteer members of Mount Olive, including the Mount Olive Chamber of Commerce, the Economic Development Committee, myself, Chuck, Gene, and other marketing type people to find the highest and best use for the old BASF property. And ultimately, as we all know, if BASF gets developed, it's likely that the 57 acres that we purchased for future development will go along with the development project, or if not go along with it, will make it much more attractive in terms of future development for some other company. So that's when we talked about where we're going in the future in terms of our financial projections. I think we sit very solidly in terms of the ratables that are going to come in, and obviously our conservative approach to expenses puts us in a very good position moving forward.
Mrs. Lebo?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mayor, I noticed last week that Silver Spring Farm was in attorney review. So,
There was some discussion, there were a number of different discussions. Originally, there was a group of interested people, Knights of Columbus had an interest looking at the building. I understand that perhaps the latest group may be a landscaping company.
yeah, I'm waiting until it gets, till the status changes to under contract and call the agent and see if I can find out what's going on. But I was like really encouraged to see attorney review,
I have-
asterisk.
I have to tell you that I had someone called me with interest in the Old Mill property.
Oh,
on
really? Cool.
206.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting concept. I don't know where it's going at this point, but Mount Olive's in play. I think, it's, what's that? Oh, yes, and we just had a email, someone looking for approximately 150,000 square foot office warehouse type distribution, which may fit the old Sportcraft building or some other property in Mount Olive. So, we don't have that many properties left in town that are available, but people want to move here. I think it's not just Mount Olive. I think, from what I'm hearing, it's the economy is picking up. We're certainly holding our own in terms of where people are looking to move. And again, a lot of it goes back to the fact that we have a very stable government. We've all worked together. We don't have strife. It's not, someone says Mount Olive, they say it's a great place to be right now.
Yep.
That's important in terms of marketing the township. So, I really do appreciate all of the effort that all of you have given the administration in terms of doing our job to make Mount Olive where you want to live.
I'll tell you, Mayor, in talking with people, everybody's very happy with you. They think they believe you turned Mount
Motion to
Olive
adjourn.
around.
Well, I appreciate that, and I can honestly say that it is a joint effort on behalf of all of us sitting up here, that we don't step on each other. We may have disagreements on things, but it's not personal.
That's healthy.
Yes, it's healthy, but it's not personal, and no one looks to get any edge over somebody for political reasons. I have a great staff. I have, obviously, the information that we're putting out on our Facebook page has just really turned the corner in terms of what people think of Mount Olive. People know what's going on. People don't complain about, I didn't know about it. If you didn't know about it, it's your own fault, because we're putting it out there. And obviously Sean's effort in terms of running the day-to-day, we've corrected a lot of issues in the building in a very positive way, and everything is moving forward. I can tell you, I was in the building the other day, I sat in on 6 meetings, 1 in health, 1 in planning, 3 in the administration office, all things that are moving forward at the same time. So we are cranking in terms of what people expect Mount Olive government to be doing on their behalf. And although there are some people who are not happy with a particular project because it affects them in a negative way, ultimately all of the projects that we've gotten behind are in the best interest of the majority of residents of Mount Olive. And people understand that at the end of the day. So you can't do it by yourself. It's a joint effort on everything.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yep.
I'll tell you, I was quite concerned at the planning board meeting on the vote on Marveland Farms, only because a few years ago, they had asked Dr. Keller to look into making fish ponds out of the retention ponds. And of course, the applicant, Mazer, when they made their application to DEP, they didn't mention the fish ponds. So they got an approval for a regular retention pond. Well, the board was quite upset with the applicant. And in fact, 2 of the board members voted no on the application. My concern was that if it went down, that the board would get sued. And I'm not sure that it could have been defended. Jeff, you might be able to shed some light on that. If DEP approved the retention ponds under their spec and they didn't put fish ponds instead of retention ponds, could that application been turned down? And could we have prevailed in court?
It's possible it could have been challenged.
You want my opinion on it?
Yes.
I think if it was inconsistent with the planning board approval, it can be defended. and they could have forced the developer. But what's great is that it was an issue which was debated. Ultimately, I'm sure there were people who were upset.
Very
It was
upset.
not consistent with the planning board approval. Yet, the planning board took the view that, okay, let's look at the overall project, the impact to Mount Olive, the benefit to Mount Olive, and the deficit that occurred as a result of them not following through, and what the impact would be if they had to go back to get the appropriate approval. I think it probably could have been defended, because you need to really follow the nature of the resolution.
application.
Yes. But ultimately, you know what? Whether it's the planning board or this council, we have to look at our role in terms of being business friendly, creating ratables, creating a business friendly environment, but also protecting the rights of the residents. Because as we sit here, whether you're a business resident or a homeowner, that's what our obligation is, to protect them, to do what's best for them at the end of the day. And I think that the planning board really acted like Solomon at the end of the day and said, okay, you know what, we're gonna forego this in light of where we are. We're not happy about it, but this is the right thing.
Okay.
Nope, John.
Anyone from the public?
John.
I'm sorry.
That's right.
Ray, I didn't see you.
That's right, Mr. President. That's right. I just had just an overall question on the planning board. Are we pushing or encouraging these applicants to build energy efficiency and participate in the clean energy programs where the state offers incentives, which also helps our Sustainable Jersey rating? Or is nobody mentioning that on the planning board?
I don't believe that was mentioned, but now that you bring it up, I will certainly bring it to the attention of the chairman.
I think it's important for all the tracks, Marlin Farms, the Simoff property. We went through some pains having our assembly and our senators push for the Board of Public Utilities to remove the old smart growth requirement. Some of the projects, with Toll Brothers included, with Morris Chase, originally were participating in the program, but there was no incentive money back from the state. So now they are complying with the IECC code, the International Energy Conservation Code 2009 edition, but they're not building above the code. And if we can get these people to build energy efficiency, which is only going to help the 55 and older as well as the COA people to save money on their energy usage, plus we can use that as a credit when we go back to continue our certification under Sustainable Jersey. So I think it's important that either somebody from the Environmental Commission or whatever get some input into the planning board meetings.
I certainly will bring it to the attention of the chair.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Any other council comments? Hearing none, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Huh?